This is Caden Henry, and it's a fire prevention plan presentation for SATC 220. So the goals of this training are to understand what is a fire prevention plan. You know, you're gonna want to be able to construct a fire prevention plan at the end of this, and then also just want to have a basic understanding of how to identify the hazards within a workplace and increase the efficiency of handling of workplace fires. Be able to efficiently get out and direct people and stay cool under pressure. Why is this training so important? Having the proper knowledge to handle a fire can save not only your life but can save many other lives. And obviously at the end of the day, that's what you want to do. You want to get home safe. You want to see your family again. So prerequisites: hot work. You're gonna absolutely need to know what the risk of hot work is. You're grinding on something, you're throwing sparks. If you have no idea that you're throwing sparks on a chemical and you create a huge fire, you might not get out of that. So of course, to be able to create a fire prevention plan, you're going to have to understand hot work. You're going to have to understand the risks of it, and you're going to have to understand how to manage it and properly work without creating a fire. And then you're going to want to have a basic understanding of gases and chemicals. You're going to need to know which gases are highly flammable, how to identify those gases. And also you need to know the same with chemicals. You need to know how certain chemicals may react. Not obviously not every single one, but you're gonna need to have a basic understanding of chemicals and gases and their reaction to fire. And as you can see on this graphic, it kind of discusses a couple of fire hazards to be aware of. Electrical hazards, toxic fumes and gases. So you kind of get an idea of things to look out for, and it's basically what the hot work permit and what a basic understanding of gases and chemicals would teach you to look out for. This is the OSHA standard for fire prevention plans, and just basically discusses it. So what is a fire prevention plan? It's a document that's kept in the workplace, and it has to be accessible to everyone in the workplace. It can't be hidden. It can't be some secret document. It has to be out and made aware to everyone. It's designed to help individuals to handle a fire in the workplace. That's the purpose of a fire prevention plan, is to help in the situation of it. People are trained for it, and they can stay cool, calm, and collective, and properly handle the fire. And typically within the plan are escape routes, fire hazards, ignition sources, and obviously many other factors which I'll cover throughout this presentation. You can see the graphic is a rough of what a fire prevention plan looks like. Just showing the route, showing the exit, showing the hazards, and showing the different equipment. So what's normally within a fire prevention plan? It must include the following: a list of fire hazards, how to handle and dispose of hazardous material, ignition sources, the different PPEs that may be required for handling certain aspects, and obviously many other things like where fire extinguishers are, stair locations, sprinklers, location of exit signs, obviously different exits. And normally with a fire prevention plan, someone the supervisor will assign different people to different muster points, depending on your location within the office at a certain point. You wouldn't want too many people to crowd to one muster point, because obviously that can cause hazards as well. But you can see this graphic right here just kind of discusses a couple of things that normally a fire prevention plan would help, because it would identify extension cords. Obviously you're going to want to keep inspecting those, outlets, phones, obviously the normal thing, batteries and stuff like that. So why is a fire prevention plan so important? Without a proper plan, obviously chaos can totally break out and make a small incident into something that it absolutely does not need to be. And sometimes in situations like this, without a plan, people can just not know. Sometimes things seem like common sense, but it doesn't always mean everyone understands it. And then sometimes, a plan, a simple situation, say it's a small little fire, and as long as somebody knows the plan, is aware of it, and they know, okay, a fire extinguisher's right around the corner, I'll go put this little fire out, no big deal. And fire prevention plans can save lives. You can see these graphics, and you can basically see the difference. One is, the top graphic, they're very calm and collective getting out, and then the second one, no one's aware, they're chatting, fires are breaking out. But spill into my own life, one time I was working hot work with a torch, and it was in a proper hot work area, but I had failed to realize there was a rag, and it had caught fire, but it was a small deal. Ended up getting the fire extinguisher, blew it out, before anything could happen. But that was because we have proper plans at work, and everyone's aware of, where how to act in the situation, how to create a fire prevention plan. So first off, you're going to want to get a group of individuals in the workplace together. One person's job may be, hey, go find all the ignition sources. Hey, another person, go find exit points, muster points, and assign different people to the different locations. You want to identify all flammable materials, identify where fire extinguishers are, where sprinklers are, where fire alarms are, where the dangerous chemicals and where the dangerous gases are stored. And putting all this load on one person would be too much, where somebody may miss it. So you want to spread it out, and you can also go back and check over the person's work, if you're the final straw. And then obviously one of the most important aspects is housekeeping. It's very slept upon, but proper housekeeping is so important, because you don't want to leave a box of trash, flammable cardboard or something laying out in the hallway, and a fire breaks out, it catches that, starts spreading. So you want to make sure every day you're not leaving trash out, you're not leaving things in the walkway people can trip. In case of emergency, you don't want to have anything like that. So every day, just clean up your workspace, make sure everyone around you also is. It's just good practice. So how to maintain a fire prevention plan. Once a year, you're going to want to have to get together as a crew and re-practice do a simulation, get together, and everybody, and maybe even try a new job out. So get familiar with every aspect of the plan, and just remake the plan in general. Go through all the hazards again. Maybe something that used to be there isn't there anymore. And you're going to want to, every month, visual inspection on fire extinguishers. You're going to want to make sure the gauges are good. Obviously, they don't have any massive dents or cuts in them. And every year, you're going to want to get it tested. And you're going to want to test fire alarms monthly. It doesn't hurt to do it monthly. Just get it done. Just check it. Make sure it's working, and it's worth it. Make it a habit. Say there's a morning meeting every morning at work. Make it a habit, once a week to bring up the fire prevention plan, discuss it amongst each other. Bring up some test scenarios. Ask people, how would you react in case of a fire? Get everybody's brain working. And then you're gonna want to make changes as necessary. If say a new chemical is being introduced to the work site, you're gonna want to make sure you're adding that to your fire prevention plan. You're gonna want to make sure your employees are aware not to go in that area if there is a fire breakout, because there's obviously a dangerous chemical. And you're gonna want to also keep note on the fire prevention plan that, or something like that. You don't want a chemical that maybe if it catches fire, the fumes that it puts off are highly dangerous. You wouldn't want anyone going that way and potentially losing their life. And then you're going to want to keep new employees updated as they come. You're going to want to make sure everyone's aware of, the updated plan and where everything's at. So as you can see, this guy's going around. You can see the plan right there on the wall, and he's kind of inspecting fire alarms. And overall, fire prevention plans are a very important aspect of the workplace. I mean, it's very important that everyone there knows how to handle, because say everyone gets out of a fire, but if you fail to act and a fire burnt down your whole facility, now you have no job. So, or even worse, if you fail to understand the fire prevention plan, and you lose your life, you don't get to see your family again. And a proper plan can help turn a big issue into a small one. A little fire breaks out and somebody knows how to properly handle it, it can absolutely turn the situation into a quick little fix and a learning lesson. Now it's something you can discuss, you can add to your fire plan, you can determine what went wrong there. And then most importantly is saving your life and saving other people's lives. So that's going to conclude the presentation.